MMA Roadshow, episode number 305. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me. We are back together again in Las Vegas after a little stint on Fight Island. It's good to see my man Cold Coffee. Man, just a few days ago, snow on the ground out here in Las Vegas, if you can believe that. But now it's a nice little 55 degrees on a Thursday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy was that, Cold Coffee? Snow, man. I think I've seen it like 3 times. I've lived here about 13 years. I was trying to count in my head. Somebody was asking me. I was saying maybe 3 times over that 13 years.
Last year, I remember we got a little bit that I remember seeing at my place. Oddly enough, I didn't get any where I'm at here. I actually had precipitation. I had rain here. It was gray, and we had some rain, but I knew that it was more on the outskirts, the higher elevated places.
Yeah.
So where you're at, well, out there, you're getting a little closer to the mountains, so you might be a little bit more elevated. But I know that Summerlin got some. When I was watching the pictures of the some of the meteorologists here in town were posting pictures of Mount Charleston and the mountains. It was beautiful seeing.
Oh yeah,
all
the
snow.
mountains,
yeah,
gorgeous.
particularly here. Yeah, here where I'm at, we just got some rain here, but it was still kind of a little slick on the roads and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I want to say last year I had a little bit here that I remember seeing, or maybe it was the year before. But yeah, literally less than a handful of times can I remember seeing snow sitting on the ground, and if that maybe even just falling.
Right.
I think one of the last times I was actually up in Mount Charleston and saw some coming down, and it was like, wow, this is kind of cool, And I was like, all right, let me get in the car and drive 45 minutes and get away from this stuff.
I was going to say, what's funny is I don't know. I feel like maybe I shouldn't say this because it's kind of our local little secret, but I'm going to throw it out there to anybody that ever comes to Vegas. If you can schedule a day to get out and go to Mount Charleston, it is so beautiful. It's 45 minutes from the Strip. During the summer, it's like 30 degrees cooler than the desert floor. So during the summertime, it's like you can go out there and get a nice 75-degree day up in the mountains. You can actually during the winter like snowboard, snow ski, that sort of stuff. So man, it's I feel like it's kind of like our little local gift that we like to keep to ourselves so the tourists don't get out there.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. I think if people don't know that part about Las Vegas, I think you miss a big part of what Las Vegas is.
Speaking of Mount Charleston, I don't know if you heard about this, but the state highway troopers were actually stopping cars on the way up the mountain if you didn't have snow tires or chains on your tires.
Yep.
Like, that's some hardcore shit. Like,
That's
I
crazy.
know I don't have chains on my tires.
Who in Vegas owns that?
Yeah, that's like some. Hey, I just happened to come into town from Colorado. Let me put my chains back on the car. But yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful up there, and when you're able, there's some really neat like some campgrounds that I like to go stay at. But yeah, if you make it all the way to the top where the skiing is, it's beautiful. I mean, but you literally feel like you have transported yourself to a whole different state. It's unreal. There's some of the views up there where it's up high and you get to look down upon the valley. It is absolutely breathtaking. I mean, before I moved here, I mean, I appreciated the desert scape, and how it's very different. But until you really are immersed in it, it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. Everybody, you always see these pictures and you think of, these plush green meadows and all this other stuff. I mean, it's different, but it's beautiful in its own sort of way. But yeah, I agree with your sentiment. If people can come to town and get a chance to go up to Mount Charleston, especially if you say you come to town for a fight week and you got a couple of random days.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only go to the Strip or to the Fremont so many times, So it's definitely worth a trip out there. Even the trips to like Death Valley and some of the other places.
Yeah. Red Rock is a lot closer.
Really,
Red Rock's
really,
gorgeous, man.
Yeah, Red Rock's really, really nice too. That's a real nice one.
Enough about the NatureJunkie.com, the Nature Roadshow, getting out and about. But you know what? I was happy for my kid to be able to see.
It's the
snow.
wine. It's the wine I'm drinking.
Well, okay, I was gonna let you keep that little secret to yourself there, but since you outed yourself, somewhere along the lines here,
myself.
Cold Coffee has gone fancy. Me, I'm keeping it kind of traditional today. I got a nice frosty beverage here in my hand, just enjoying it. What are you doing?
There?
You got the red one. I tapped the Rockies a little bit. I poured a little ice cold Coors Light into this cup. Meanwhile, you have tapped into a bottle of red wine, getting fancy with it.
Yeah, a little Cabernet Sauvignon.
Oh.
I It's yeah, yeah, that's how you have to drink it too. I'm gonna pinky out and everything. Um, I don't know why I happened to get it. I think it was one of the last grocery store ones when I went back through the alcohol aisle because I wanted to get another 4 pack of that PBR hard coffee.
Oh,
It is good, but it is
I gotta get that
super
shot.
sweet. It is really sweet. It is really sweet. I can see where somebody would want to mix it with something or put it over ice or something. But when I pop it and drink it out of the can, um, it's kind of sweet. It's kind of sweet, but it's good. It's really really good. But so I went and I did that, and then I think I had picked up some stuff for spaghetti or something, and then I was like, I should probably get red wine. I have yet to make spaghetti, but here I am drinking the red wine. So
That is
sorry,
phenomenal.
spaghetti night. Spaghetti night's gonna get something else.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah,
Yeah. Pairing the red
yeah,
wine
I'm
with
feeling
the
fancy.
spaghetti.
Yeah, super fancy here. That's how we
Super
do it.
fancy like that. That's funny. Well, listen, we'll get into some MMA talk. Not not any big events this weekend, but of course you still get the continued fallout from UFC 257. Michael Chandler, man, he's still on that press for the title shot, man. He's out there doing the media rounds and saw him doing like the Jim Rome show. I mean, he's doing the big spots, and calling for that fight with Dustin Poirier. And of course, you remember back at UFC 257 afterwards, I think Poirier kind of surprised us all a little bit. He basically said, look, that Chandler fight makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And, at first I said I was a little bit surprised. And then, the way he kind of explained it, I get it. I think Poirier is kind of standing his ground on principle, right? I mean, he's saying, look, I had to grind my way to the top. I think other people should have to grind their way too. And Michael Chandler's kind of making his way over here from Bellator. And there's truth to that. But I will say, I do think Michael Chandler was on a grind in a different place as well. So I don't feel like it's like
Yeah.
you could totally throw everything away that he did at Bellator. So I get it. So I don't know. I guess first of all, I wanted to ask you, what's your take on Dustin Poirier's stance, right? Is it a legit stance where it's like, look, I came up the hard way, Michael Chandler needs to put in his time too, or do you think it's more of like a negotiation type thing? I mean, do you think it's some kind of leverage, or I mean, it's not a contractual thing, but I mean, is he just trying to take some stance, or do you think this is? I mean, I don't know. Dustin seems to me like a straight shooter, like a kind of a man of principle. I think I can take what he's saying at face value.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I mean, like Dustin, I mean, even with the Connor things, I mean, I bet he probably didn't even try to push to squeeze as much out money wise from that as he could as well. I think he was happy to be able to get the fight and get in there and challenge himself. I think the way that he had to come up, fighting for interim titles and all this other stuff, and then working up to the point where now he is legit in lock and step to be at the title shot,
Right.
whether it's against Khabib or have that place to, should the belt be vacated and he has that next shot. I get it where, he doesn't want to give it to a guy that's just fought one time. I mean, granted, he was an impressive performance against Dan Hooker.
Sure.
Super. I mean, that was fantastic, but you got to fight some more times before you just give him a shot. I mean, regardless of coming in and being a former champion and all this other stuff, I do think he also realizes that that is very well a fight that he could lose. So why not, fight and give the opportunity? One, I love the idea that he wants to respect the division and let the other person that's been right there at the top with him have a possibility. I mean, I think when he talks about how Charles Oliveira has a better
Yeah.
shot of getting the opportunity, he's giving credence back to this division that he's been toiling in the whole time. And Oliveira's got an incredible, you know, record coming behind him, and he's
Yeah.
done the legwork. He's beat great guys. So, I don't see it as just being like, okay, come at me with a bigger number and I'll agree to Michael Chandler, because I don't think it'll get there. I think they'll end up letting him. I mean, who knows? It's funny, we even joke sort of internally. Is the UFC ready to embrace this former Bellator guy, this former champion, or do they want to
Right.
really sort of, get behind the guys that have been coming up and fighting and doing awesome work within the UFC, which would be Charles Oliveira I mean, what's sexier? Is it a Dustin Poirier versus a Charles Oliveira, or is it Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler? I could see where a lot of people would say option B
I
is a
do
lot
too.
sexier
I
for
hate
me.
to say it. I hate to say
You
it, but I
know?
think that's the sexier matchup right now, especially coming off that performance. And like you said, I know it's a
Yeah.
Bellator guy, but man, he performed great in the cage. He was great on the mic, and maybe it is.
He
Maybe it's
was
just
incredible
he
on the
was.
mic. That was so fantastic. That one showed his experience, and it showed the dude's been killing it on the mic. I mean, that was championship level talk, because I was so jacked after that. I was just laughing and smiling, I think, at the
Yeah.
whole time, because I was like, this is absolutely incredible.
Like he just
Uh,
killed it. Like not only did he kill the fight, but he
yeah,
killed everything after. So here's the thing: is I'm torn on this one, right? I'm torn on this one because to
yeah,
me, yes, Charles Oliveira, the run that he's been on, the things that he's done, what he's accomplished, absolutely he deserves the title shot. And by the way, we're all assuming I think that Habib is done. I've said it all along. I thought Habib might be done. I still think he's sticking to those guns. You have to put Poirier as one half of a fight. I mean, you can't not have a
yeah.
title fight with Dustin Poirier. So to me, your options right now are yes, either Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler or Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. And I hate to say it because I'm telling you right now, I think Charles Oliveira, if we're really just talking about merit, who quote unquote deserves it more, yeah, I think it's Charles Oliveira that deserves it more. But man, coming off a performance like that, and knowing that anything could happen to Michael Chandler next, I feel like you strike while the iron is hot, so to speak, or whatever cliche you want to use. I kind of feel like that's
Yeah.
the direction you go in. Now, Dustin has said
If you're
no.
the UFC, if you're
Well, there you go. Is can you convince Dustin Poirier to get on board with that?
yeah, I mean, that's tough, because one, I think Dustin probably likes his opportunities better with Charles Oliveira, because he knows that he needs to just keep it off the ground. I don't think he's worried about Charles striking. I don't think he's worried about Charles taking him down. If Charles is able to get him down, we're not going to see the level of like what Khabib was able to do
Right.
to Dustin when he was down. Like Dustin's, I'm not too worried about him there, even though Charles's jiu-jitsu skills on his back, on the ground, are just absolutely sickening. Dude is so talented, but I think in his mind, and I think anybody would say that that's a better matchup for him stylistically.
I think so.
But Chandler, I mean, the way he stalked Dan Hooker it was just scary. Like, Dan Hooker never became Dan Hooker that night. It's like he never fully booted up. His
Right.
computer still had the Apple screen still on, and Chandler walked straight up into his face and dropped him before he got to the login prompt.
What a way to say it.
And I think, so I think that's the point where Dustin does realize, but Dustin's not scared of him. He's not whatever, but he also realizes that anybody, I think, would say, if I had to pick between the two, I'm going to pick the guy that I think that fits better for my fighting style. But that, coupled with that as well, is the fact that one guy has been toiling away in the UFC and deserves that shot. And if there's ever a guy that's been one to sort of champion what is right for the division, what fighters should get, fighters getting their due respect and their due opportunity, it's been Dustin.
Right.
Dustin has represented the guy, the blue collar guy that's been grinding and grinding, and he got his chances and he did everything they needed to do. So how can he now all of a sudden be the guy that just completely turns and says, yes, I want the bigger payday, which would happen if he fought Chandler. Let's just be honest. I think it would be a much bigger payday if that was a pay-per-view. It would sell a lot more.
I think it does.
So if he's willing to say, I'd rather let the division, do what is right, and have some time off, but in the back of his mind saying, all right, yeah, this is better for me anyways, styles-wise, but
All right.
yeah, I just don't. It does for me. It doesn't ring like it's a money play by any means.
I don't think it is either.
I
don't think
I think it's a smart play. I think it's just a smart play.
Here's the wild card I want to throw at you. And this one has crossed my mind this week, and I thought, could this possibly happen? Could the UFC go to Dustin Poirier and say, Dustin, we think Michael Chandler is the fight to make. That's the direction we're going in. It's you versus Chandler for the lightweight title. And Poirier sticks to his guns and says, nope, I'm selling hot sauce. And then they go, okay, well, you know what? We'll pivot and we'll turn to Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira for the lightweight title. Dustin Poirier gets blocked out, and then Dana does what Dana does, right? Where he says, well, there's a lot of ways to not want to fight. Dustin Poirier did not want that fight. And he would technically be accurate. We know exactly what he'd be saying. I mean, Dustin said, I'd rather sell hot sauce than take that fight. And I think he's being honest about it as well. Do you think there's a situation where we could end up with Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier get shut out?
I mean, how you laid it out right there is completely plausible that could happen.
Oh.
I believe so.
Oh.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it'll happen. I think the amount of bad juju that the UFC would get for turning their back on Dustin.
Oh.
For Dustin to go and do what he did against Conor, he has thrown himself back into the spotlight in a huge way. I had somebody hit me up and was like, what did he say? He's like, bro, I don't watch this MMA thing, but how big was it that Irish guy lost? So he wasn't talking about, anybody else that had a great performance or whatever, but he was talking about the fact that Conor lost, and then who did Conor lose to?
Yep.
So Dustin right now has splashed himself into more of the mainstream, and the fact he's doing everything right now. You bring up the hot sauce, which I actually ordered some. I hasn't got it yet.
Did you?
So
I was thinking
I'm
about doing
actually
some. We'll have to
going
taste test it.
It's not cheap. Cheap. Part of it's because it's going through but it falls in line with what the rest of this.
It's like $20 a bottle, basically. I looked at it. I was gonna
14. I think it was like.
But
14
then you got to ship it, right? Then you got to ship it. It was like around $20.
I ended up buying I ended up buying like 3 other bottles of hot sauce, so it was like whatever.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
I like my hot sauce, so it all kind of played out. But you're right. I mean, he is doing. I think it would be some bad press, because right now I think people loved everything about how Dustin handled himself that fight week, and then the fight was just the icing on the cake. I mean, everything he represented about him, he was humble the whole time. I loved the interaction between him and Conor. I know some people are like, man, I want the shit talking, I want the blah blah blah. We get so much of that. Maybe I'm in the minority. Yeah. No. I absolutely loved the whole fight week. I loved the interaction between the two of them. I loved how they were humble. I loved how Dustin gave him hot sauce. He gave him proper 12. Boy, I was smiling ear to ear. I was cheesing. Maybe I'm a cheese ball, but I actually liked that week. So I think that Dustin and Conor handled themselves so fantastic that week. And then for Dustin to come out and perform like he did, I know a lot of people, my casual buddies, that were talking about Dustin and are huge fans now of this guy that beat the Irish guy, and who loved everything about it. Once they started reading up a little bit, he's doing everything with his foundation and being able to give back all this other stuff. And we've said this before many, many times. I mean, Dustin is the perfect individual that you want to represent this sport. Mm-hmm. So the last thing you want to do is shaft the guy that is one of the best representatives for your sport. If they did, even though it would be bigger money in the mean sense, but I don't care about Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. That does nothing for me. I hate to
say it, but I agree.
I mean, I personally would rather see Dustin versus Charles.
Yeah.
I like that matchup just for the fact that we've been watching these guys toil away in that division for a while. It makes sense for all of us that are like, oh man, all this jumping the line stuff sucks, To see that would be awesome. But so if we saw another case of a guy literally jumping the line and getting it, and then let alone shafting a guy that is probably one of your best spokesmen for the company and the division, would just be bad form. I just don't see where they would do it, but they tend to do stuff that always leaves a scratch in our head. So I can't say that it won't happen, but
I hope
it
doesn't happen.
It would be really weird. It would be really weird to hear from my casual friends saying like, "What happened with the guy that beat Conor? Why isn't he fighting for the title?" Oh, well, let me tell you a story, just to have them say, "Oh, well, that sucks," and then lose interest. I think the UFC, you would think that they would be smart enough to find the ways to make Dustin happy, just like what they did with Khabib. Khabib, when he got the belt, when he was rising up, they realized we need to put stock in this guy and give him what he wants, and he became every bit as big of a star as they wanted him to be.
Yep.
Dustin right now is at that point where he is crossing the threshold, and he's already been there before for the people that I think were diehards. But now that you have a lot of people tuning in because of what he was able to do against Conor, you got to ride that momentum. If anything else, they need to push him more than ever to actually squeeze as much as they possibly can out of this momentum. So I would hope that they would do whatever he wants to make that title fight. I would, and again, Dana, I know you're listening to this. I'm into the Oliveira Poirier matchup. I think that's a good one.
It's a good
and I
matchup.
think people would watch it. I think people would watch it.
It's a good match. All right, so then if we do that, let's hope that little shady circle that we all drew right there doesn't happen. We end up with Poirier Oliveira. Then what do you do with Gaethje? I should say, what do you do with Michael Chandler? Do you put him up with Justin Gaethje? Or
I love that fight.
I love that fight, but is that too much to ask of Chandler, who just came in?
That's a lot.
Yeah, right? I mean, this dude just came in and fought a guy that nobody wanted to fight. Starched him, was amazing on the mic, did everything he could. Oh, by the way, don't forget, did you that favor of going to Fight Island twice, right? Came in as a standby. So he's already done you a solid, even though he's brand new. Then you give him a killer like Justin Gaethje, who, I mean, is capable of beating anybody. Is that too much to ask? Because I guess the flip side would be Michael Chandler. You can sit around and wait. But now you're talking about, what, a year? Because the Poirier Oliveira fight wouldn't happen till the summer, and then at best you're hoping December, probably January. I mean, Dustin's not out here fighting 4 times a year at this point in his career.
No, and so a fight that sort of piqued me the other day was when Diaz was jawing away a little bit on the social media with the Conor and the Dustin result, and then Gaethje sort of chirped a little bit back at Diaz. I would love to see Gaethje and Diaz be able to fight somehow if they found, if they decided, hey, I'm going to go up for a fight, or let's do a catch weight or something. I think Justin would be happy even doing a catch weight, even though it wasn't pushing the division for that particular fight, because he knows it would be incredible money.
Yep.
And it seems like something that he's into. But again, that doesn't do anything in terms for like the next division or whatever. I would love to see the Chandler Gaethje, but you're right. I mean, that is a lot to ask for Chandler. But Chandler's been saying the whole time. I mean, he's calling the top of the division out anyways.
But you know what I like? Check this out.
Anybody,
I was just saying, I'm sorry, but check this out. You know what? If they could find a way to make Gaethje Diaz, then you could go Chandler RDA, which I don't mean to be disrespectful of a former champion, Rafael dos Anjos, but maybe that's a little less
that's
of a
good
test.
Fight.
Yeah, you're right. You know what I'm saying? It's a good fight.
That's a good fight.
It's a former champ. It's a name, but maybe not quite as dangerous at this point in his career as Justin Gaethje. And I say that with the utmost respect.
Yeah, and it's 2 former champs fighting each other. I mean, who can't get behind that? And the promotion already sells itself. You got a former UFC champ against a former Bellator champ. And it's a guy that's higher in the rankings, at least the USA Today MMA Junkie rankings.
The only ones
sure
that you should really pay attention to.
The only ones that matter.
Yeah.
I think that is an incredible fight, and I think that's the kind of thing that, Gaethje, one, he's not fighting a guy that's just coming into the division. I think Gaethje would be into it because he understands it. But by giving Gaethje the freedom to maybe pick and choose his fight a little bit, and if Diaz is into it, if you can get some heat, I think the heat that would come off that fight week would be incredible. And it doesn't hurt his placement in the lightweight division by any means. He doesn't lose any footing should he take a catchweight fight somewhere else. And I think it could be a lot of fun. But it's tough. I mean, you want Chandler to keep moving because you're right. I mean, he starts taking a loss and say he gets another loss. Then is he damaged goods at that point?
Yep.
And then it's a matter of then he's got to rebuild himself back up through the division. Gaethje is, I mean, he's kind of stuck right now. Unless he's going to get the title shot, he's kind of stuck. So we might as well at least give him a little opportunity to have a little fun. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it if they did the Gagey Chandler, but yeah, I have the feeling like after that fight, one of those guys is going to be wrecked.
Yeah. Oh,
Physically,
yeah,
they're both
dude.
going to be wrecked.
Oh,
Physically, they're both going to be wrecked, but one of them is going to be, is going to have lost his shine and going to have lost their positioning, sort of for whatever the next title is. But then
yeah.
it's just tough because I mean it's all so tough at the top of the division to find fights for these guys. You almost have to find something outside of the norm to even justify it because what do? You try to tell Justin, oh hey, everybody's sort of booked, Al's needing something, or Kevin Lee's a good opportunity, or blah blah blah. You can't go that far back.
I don't think so either.
It's tough. It's a tough predicament up there. But I love the fact when I saw Gagey start chirping at Diaz, I was like, man, is there any way I would just get down and find religion and pray if that fight could happen? Because that would be a lot of fun. Because just the styles. I mean, both guys would just walk forward into the middle of the octagon and just slaps and uppercuts, and I doubt there would be any takedown probably until like the third round or something. That would be an incredible co-main event, but it would be worthy of a main event. But if there was like something where we needed, say if there was that Poirier Oliveira on a main event, and then had this one as the co-main event, I think it could justify still being
So you got your backup fight in place, basically. You got your backups there, ready
and
to go.
and a big one that's worth it. I mean, it's tough for them. Remember for a while there, it was like 2 or 3 title fights every pay-per-view, and it was like they can never sustain this sort of path that they're doing it. Then at some point, people are going to be like, this isn't worth the money anymore. I remember when you used to give me 2 or 3 title fights on a pay-per-view, and now you're giving me 2 guys that are contending to be the number 1 contender as a main event. And it's like, okay. So I can see where some people now, I mean, we were spoiled. We were spoiled for a while there when they had all that other stuff. So I don't know. I think that's the kind of card you would almost need to have happen to be justified to be another pay-per-view without a title fight or something.
I tell you what.
I mean, this one was in a sense was like a title fight. I mean, a Conor fight.
A Conor fight's like a title fight. I wonder.
It's like a title fight.
It is like a title fight. And I'm kind of thinking in my head, I mean, could you headline a pay-per-view with Justin Gaethje versus Nate Diaz? No title. Could you headline? I think you could. I think you could. Like it. I know. I think you could.
I would like it. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, like Diaz has reached that. He's definitely has reached that threshold. I mean,
yes.
there's a handful of people that could probably pull that off, like a John Jones, some of these other guys. Like Diaz is that guy. His following is so fervent, is so amazing. His fight weeks are so fun, but you know what you're gonna get. That's like a guaranteed fun fight. But yeah, I would be more than happy to have that be a pay-per-view, even with the price raise.
Oh,
shame on you, ESPN.
I agree with you, man. All right, so Dana White, it's done. As you said, we know Dana, loyal listener every week. He's always shouting,
Thanks, Dana.
Always shouting us out behind the scenes. He's always hitting us up for koozies and stuff like that.
He's already got Sean listening on speakerphone. He's like, "Bruh, you got to listen to this part. Just send the contract."
I don't know if we were supposed to reveal that information to people, but yeah, I mean that clearly weekly listeners. So we're booking it now. Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje versus Nate Diaz, and Michael Chandler versus Rafael dos Anjos.
Get your tickets. That's a dope. That would be so damn dope.
Oh, that would be insane.
That would be a dope ass card.
That would be
I'm
insane.
not gonna lie. That would be dope.
All right, listen. You could keep talking about this forever. The great thing is we got a lot of big fights coming up in lightweight, man. The lightweight division is incredibly exciting right now. So good fights to be made to be coming up for sure. So listen, by the way, if you enjoyed kind of that post-fight talk that we just had like that, you should go over and sign up at patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow, where it's for as little as $3 a month. You can help support the podcast, which, we're just a couple of guys out here grinding. We could use the assistance. But on top of that, you get exclusive access to the and a half each and every week after UFC events, where I sit down, recap the night's action, bring you some of bring you some of the content from the evening, some of the post-fight interviews and that sort of thing. We'll give you some thoughts and analysis and that sort of thing. You can join two of our new good friends. Isn't that right, Cold Coffee? Manny Ortiz, Adam Snowball.
Yeah, Manny.
I don't know if Snowball is actually the last name. It could be.
He's a coke dealer. He's a coke dealer. I can tell. He's like, or maybe I guess it is wintertime. Maybe he just really, really loves winter, or he's a huge coke dealer, and he's just like, they're like, oh, that's Adam Snowball, man. That motherfucker always be snowed down. He always be snowed in.
Clearly he's a huge coke dealer in the South somewhere, like deep South is what I'm.
deep. I'm telling you, and Patreon's fun, and you know we've had some great ones, and I want to give a shout out to Ryan Vanoy, is one of the guys that's been a big listener, big fan. Just like sent a message the other day and was like, hey fellas, much love. Like I love that, you know, like you guys write us, man. Like that part of the Patreon is like we read everything and we will respond, whatever. I mean, if you want a direct line to just chat, talk shit, you know, do whatever. That's what that is for. That is. The community that's been building there has been awesome. I know I've leaned on it in the past, and
Yes.
It's good shit. So we'd be more than happy to have you guys to be a part of the family. And thank you for the new additions, and thank you for the old school. I know we don't get around to thanking you all as much as we used to by name, but in thoughts, you guys are you're all my heroes. Thank you very, very much. But I wanted to shout out Ryan just because he was one of the last guys that just shot a little message, and I love it because you know you have guys that chime in after every event or after the post show. You know, Mark Fellow is another big one that kind of chimes in every once in a while. But that's what it's for. You know, like just because you're a member and you're listening, you're getting the and a half doesn't mean you can't just like chat and be like, what's up, fellas? What do you think about this? Because that's part of what this is for. If you have questions about going into the fight week, if there's things that we can ask fighters, if there's things that we can bring up, that's what this is for. Let us know what you guys are thinking about, what you're wondering about. And if we could work it into like fighter interviews, if we could work it into the next show or whatever, that's what it's there for. And we encourage it. And I love the people that are actually taking advantage of that and reaching out and saying stuff. So that's it. I just wanted to make sure I gave a shout out to the people that are actually,
I think
kind of going above and beyond.
I think it's a good shout out, and I think it's a strong message. But I really think in order for it to resonate the way that it should with our listeners, it should really be delivered in song, Cold Coffee. I really think that's the only way to really get them to understand the type of passion that you have for what they do and how much the community means.
We love you, folks. I love you, folks. Hey, this is for you, Simon. Hey. Wait. Whatever. I'm working on that song for you, Simon. But yeah, we love y'all.
Come for the MMA talk. Stay for the musical interludes.
I wasn't ready. I had to cue up the music. I wasn't ready for
you gotta stay ready. Now that I know you have constant access to a keyboard, I'm just gonna hammer it home.
I know. The wine's settling on my head already.
I like it. Well, listen, no UFC action this week, but we'll be back in action next week for UFC Fight Night 184, Overeem versus Volkov. I gotta say, it's a pretty good looking card. I mean, Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov in the main event. That's meaningful. Frankie Edgar versus Corey Sandhagen. You know, whether you like the matchmaking or not, there certainly a really meaningful fight and a potentially good fight. I mean, Beneil Dariush, Diego Fajeda's on there. Old schoolers, Clay Guida and Michael Johnson getting at it. So we'll have previews all that next week. But in Cold Coffee, I'm not even sure if you're aware of this yet, but there is a slight possibility that we may be actually doing in-person interviews with these fighters and saying goodbye.
That was a G minor for goodbye.
G minor goodbye to the virtual media days, man.
Actually, that was G major. G major. Goodbye, motherfucking virtuals. You suck.
Yeah. Listen. Shout out to the UFC. I don't know that it's been approved yet. I know they're working on some final plans, but they have heard our
That would be
cries of
awesome.
pain, and they're trying to have in-person media days. I'm sure there will be some COVID testing involved and some whatever else to get things done. But my understanding is maybe as soon as next week, and hopefully in the very near future, at least, we'll get back to having real in-person interviews. From my understanding, the virtual media days will still exist for media that can't travel, for media that doesn't live here, but
Yeah,
but
which it should. Which is
which it
good.
should. Yeah, it's a good thing. That's not a bad addition to the rotation, but just for me, I gotta say it, and I gotta imagine fans listen to this, fans watch. I can't imagine many fans watch those virtual media day sessions. I mean, sure, in the beginning when that's all we had, we went with it, and we were happy to have it because we didn't have anything, but I gotta
Yeah.
imagine there's very few fans that sat down and watch those things because they're brutal.
It's so hard. It's so hard to watch. I mean, with the bad quality, and then the audio goes out, and then it's just a weird framing. And then we'll put the videos out there, and people are yelling. You're like, man, fix your camera. What's wrong with your audio? And it's like, bro, that's not our audio. That's not our gear.
Yep.
So yeah, everybody's fatigued. Everybody's fatigued. We're fatigued having to deal with it over
Yep.
and over. And I know you guys are tired of watching it because it's just, who wants to watch something that looks like it was shot like 30 years ago and with like bad VHS quality that we just dubbed? It's just it's
brutal.
not a good look. It's not a good look
I'm
for a
praying.
4 billion valuated company. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's no GameStop. It's no GameStop valuation run up the chart, but that stuff is crazy. By the way, do not buy GameStop. Do not
That
lose
is
your money.
crazy. That is a weird look. I am not. I will not pretend to be some type of big stock investor, but just watching that whole thing play out and reading, how it happened and kind of.
Yeah, I mean, the reasoning behind it, I get it. I mean, it's so frustrating. All these hedge funds that put so much money and will move the price of stocks, even though you look at the economics of a company and you're like, oh, this looks good. This should be it should be great. And you're like, why is it going down? It doesn't make any sense. And then people are like, oh, well, it's these big hedge funds throwing their big dick around and throwing all this money, and then it drives it down because then they short it and they're like, oh, it's going to go down. And then people are like, oh, okay, and so it drives the price down. And then here's people that they're like, no, we're done playing your game. You want to drive it down and you're betting on the fact that the price is going to go down. How about we actually put our money behind it and buy it up? And then they have to sell stocks to cover it because they have to cover their order. And so they're losing all this money. So it's them saying, heck with you manipulating the system. Let us work the system so that you, the big guys that have been pushing all these companies down, you pay the price. And then now you have all these commissions and people starting to look at it now sort of saying, well, we should probably do something about it. We probably shouldn't allow them to do this. And it's like, you're not stopping the big hedge funds from doing
Yep.
it. Why are you going to stop these guys?
Yep.
And the fact that it's so funny that one of the companies that these people are using to, in a sense, rob from the rich is this Robinhood, which allows all these group of people to
Right.
buy fractional shares and to jump into together, So it's kind of funny that was one of the ones that they're to doing it. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, when you look at the value of what GameStop is being boosted up there, just know if you are an investor and you're looking at the company is not worth that much money. So if you want to play along and you want to hop in and ride the wave, understand and know that if you get it and you buy in and you're hoping that somebody comes right behind you and buys it up at a higher value that you could sell your money, that's great if it works for you. But you also run the risk of the bottom completely dropping out because there is no real economic valuation for this. It doesn't exist.
Right.
This GameStop is not worth like what a Best Buy is.
Right.
And when the money's getting up by Best Buy numbers and other stuff, it's just ridiculous. So just, have fun and just, but know what you're doing and understand it. So if this whole thing makes people eventually understand better, to research a stock and understand what's worth it and what's the value of it, good. And if it also brings to light the fact that these big hedge funds have been for so long manipulating the price cost with the amount of money that they have, that they can cause these huge price swings that you as an investor are like, I don't get it. I've been looking at it and it should go up. I don't understand why it's going down. That's the crazy shit about the stock market. Sometimes it makes no sense because there's other forces outside of what should be happening causing it to happen. And that's what's scary about it, because, and I said this in our past, and I know I'm going on way too long about this, whatever. Our work chat, the past administration wanted things like Social Security to be gone. They wanted everybody to take their money and their retirements and put it in the stock market. So you're telling you want everybody to put their money into something that can be easily manipulated by these hedge fund companies that are just trying to make a big bulk amount of money. So even if they buy a company, you as a person, you've been saving all your life, and then you're retiring and you buy into a company because you know it's a good company, but then it gets driven down by some huge hedge fund or something, and you lose a lot of your money and
It's
you
crazy.
don't have that security blanket anymore. That'd be really, really
crazy.
a bad, sad day. I mean, if you play the stock market and you get in there and you understand it and you do it the right way, it can be very exciting and it can be fun, and you have the possibility of getting better gains than just putting in a low interest like a checking or like a CD or something. But it's just crazy. But it's crazy to see this whole thing with the GameStop happening. It's just unreal. But yeah, we started talking about the valuation of this $4 billion company and how they don't have any cameras and other stuff, which is kind of shady. But
Hey,
it's
man.
crazy because that's what's happening. It's happening. It's in the news. It's all anybody's talking about.
Come for the MMA talk. Get the musical interludes. Get the hiking recommendations. Get some financial advice. We got. Hey, you know what is funny though? I do wonder if there's like a CEO or something of GameStop who just made an absolute killing on like stock options that he had or she had for that matter. Like somebody that just had like a huge portion of their income in stock options and was just like made out like a damn bandit, dude. I wonder if somebody had a
Who
massive
wouldn't?
windfall.
Yeah, even if you're like maybe you're just a low level manager, but you happen to have had something and you're like whatever, and you have the vested part where you could sell. Why the heck not? Wouldn't you?
Hell no, take advantage.
By selling a lot of times can cause it, when there's huge runs on sales, can cause it to go down as well. But why not, dude? The price has went up so incredibly. Good on you if you're able to make out on it.
You get that once in a lifetime chance. Hopefully somebody got just like ultra rich off of it, man. That'd be awesome. All right. Well, speaking of batshit crazy stuff, are you getting excited for this boxing match between Jake Paul and Ben Askren? They're going back and forth. They're talking about it. The promos are out there. The social media is being done. The interviews are being done. And I got to ask if you're getting excited because I got to say this. I want to throw my take out there on this first and then find out how you're feeling about it because I want to say this. I'm happy for Ben Askren to get a paycheck, man. I am. You know what I mean? I've always liked Ben Askren. Even though he's a little sassy sometimes, I think it's in a fun way, a clever way. I always think it's great. We used to joke about how, he never said a cuss word, which was awesome. Like all his stuff you could use and you could monetize for our websites and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So he did a great job. I love what he did. So I'm happy for him that he's getting, but I guess what I don't understand about the whole fight, and we've said before, listen, there are such things as just spectacles. There are just freak show type things that people just want to tune in for. It doesn't always have to be about number one versus number two in the world. But I don't really understand kind of what this boxing match actually means, like what it tells him. Because, like I said, I'm happy for Askren to get a check. I'll actually say good on Jake Paul for taking the challenge. I mean, fighting a real fighter. But what I guess I don't understand is what does it mean? I mean, Ben Askren is widely regarded as one of the least effective strikers in MMA. And I don't mean that as an insult to him. I think he'd be happy to admit striking is not his specialty. So why do you pick possibly the worst striker in MMA and say I'm going to fight that guy in a boxing match? Like, what does that prove? Maybe I saw Gokhan Saki of all people on social media saying, I bet he wouldn't take that fight with me. It's like, no shit, he wouldn't take the fight with you, Gokhan Saki, because you would murder him. But that would almost be like if Jake Paul challenged Gokhan Saki to a grappling match. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, I'm gonna beat Gokhan Saki and BJJ. Like, who cares? I don't what does that mean? So I don't understand what the match means. So it's weird. I'm not one of these people. I'm not one of these people who says, hey, it can't happen. This is an abomination to the sport. No, if two guys want to get in there and make some money and people are willing to pay for it, good on them both for doing it. I got no problems. I guess I just don't understand what it means. I mean, if Jake Paul beats the worst striker in MMA and boxing, and I mean that with no disrespect, I don't understand what that accomplishes. And honestly,
Yeah.
if Ben Askren outboxes a YouTuber, I don't understand what that means. So I don't. I have a hard time wrapping my head around. I'm not excited for it, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not opposed to these
Yeah.
guys fighting, but I'm just. It doesn't get me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately that's what it is for me. Is just two guys having a little fun, going out and going to get a big payday. I think both of them realize in the big scheme of things, it means absolutely nothing outside of the fact of two guys going in there and fighting and getting a big payday.
Yeah.
You know, Ben has said, when he was asked, Mike Bond talked with him earlier today in an interview, and he's like, "So what's in it for you?" And he's like, "I get to go in there and beat up a YouTuber. That's it." And he's like, Mike asked him, "Are you trying to like, is this you fighting to defend MMA and blah, blah?" And he's like, "No, not at all. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's just me literally getting a chance to go in there and beat up on a YouTuber." It's about getting money. And the same thing for Jake. I mean, he's getting the opportunity to go in there and fight a legit UFC fighter, a former champion. And if he's able to pull off a boxing win, good on him. I mean, it's the same thing. We know that if it was an MMA fight, it would never actually happen. But the fact that there's a possibility, and he's done recently pretty well with his hands, why not do it? But I mean, it'd be one thing for him to then still say to say that Ben has no hands. Ben maybe has no hands compared to a top level striker within the UFC.
Right.
But he's still got better hands than I do.
That's true.
I'm sure he's got better hands than you.
That is true.
Does he have better hands than Jake? I would assume he does because he's made it to that level. I mean, he's thrown many, many punches in sparring. He's thrown many, many punches in a lot of fights. Most people don't know of him for his striking by any means, but, I don't.
It's still better than 99.9% of the population.
Yeah. And I don't look at Jake Paul and say, "My God, he is one hell of a boxer."
Right.
No, I don't say that either. So he's giving up something for himself as well. But I don't look and say this is anything more outside of, two guys being able to make a big payday on something that is going to take both of them less than, 30 minutes on fight night, and it might take them, whatever amount of days and weeks that they allow themselves to actually be training for this as opposed to just training. It's just two guys going in to get a big payday. It doesn't, it's, the MMA world isn't going to be hurt by this. If Ben loses, and even Ben said, he was like, "If I lose, so what? He'll get over it."
Match.
I mean, it's just a boxing match, and both guys are just going to go in there and make a little money. I mean, am I excited for it? I wouldn't say I'm excited. I don't mind it. I'm not upset about that it's happening, but I honestly haven't really been following much of it. In fact, the interview that I watched today with Mike and Ben Askren is the first thing that I've really even tried to pay attention to it.
That's because
I knew
it was your
going
job
on, but
to do it.
I was like, eh. And that's because it was my job to do it. That's exactly right.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying.
I'm not going out of my way to look it up.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, again, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not trying to pretend like this is some travesty, but it hasn't hooked me to the point where I'm like, I can't wait, for this freak show. So, I don't know. We'll see how it does. Hopefully
not
it does
holding
well.
up. Yeah, and it's not holding up a division. It's not doing the things that we all were like when Conor, was holding up a division to try to go fight Mayweather, or if somebody was an active person holding up a spot and making people and their livelihood be on hold while you went and did this crazy circus sideshow, then I could see where it'd be like, "Oh man, bad form." But it's just literally, the UFC is gonna not even have a blip on the radar for this particular thing. It does nothing to affect the daily business. The UFC's not losing money for it happening because they have no hands in it. It is what it is. I mean, in fact, I can't remember his exact words, but he said it was as easy, when Mike asked him, was it any sort of hard problems getting the UFC to sort of say like, "Hey, is this cool?" or whatever. He said it was like the easiest negotiating he's ever had with the UFC when it came to things, like
they're like, "Bro, we're done. We're done with you, bro. Yeah, go do whatever you want. As long as it's not MMA, go do whatever you want.
Have fun."
All right, so here's my other question then. What do you make of Jorge Masvidal's involvement in this. I mean, he shot a video, him and Jake Paul, kind of practicing together a little bit. Now, I don't know how much Masvidal's really going to be involved in his training, but I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
take out of this? Because it's weird. On the one hand, I guess, hey, listen, Jake Paul's got a big following, so for Masvidal to, just kind of, tie himself to that a little bit, get a little exposure. It's not the worst thing
That's
in the
it.
world. Is it that simple? Because it's funny
He's,
because I
I
just
think
think
I,
it's not like he's a bitter rival with Ben Askren. I think the
no.
rivalry with him and Ben Askren has been put in the past.
I think he's just setting himself up for the future in the sense of, as the fighting career ends, if he wanted to possibly, swing into Hollywood or in that whole sort of community, I think this is the kind of thing that you want to sort of do is just, ride the, I don't want to say 15 minutes, but ride your fame right now. And if you're making connections in the, I say this lightly, but the entertainment industry, because I guess that's all I can really sort of call this social YouTuber stuff, is
Right.
that those are people in the industry. I'm sure they know people or whatever. Um, Good on him. I mean, he's like a celebrity coach or something, just helping this guy do whatever. But um, I don't think it's anything like he's like, oh man, I got to make sure that you beat Ben because I still hate that guy. I mean, he already demolished him. I don't think any literal bad feelings are done at this point. It's not like
Yeah.
Ben's still over here in the corner chirping, saying like, I want to run that one back. I want that one back. I made a mistake. Like it's just not happening. I think if anything, I've seen other videos of even when the fucking sorry, the Trumps were on a boat partying. Masvidal's on this boat partying with the Trumps. He's riding the wave, of dealing with these people that can help open up doors after his career is what I see this as is making connections. It's networking. He's helping Jake Paul because at some point this might help open up a door for something else is
Yep.
what I see this as. I mean, so even if they became boys, which I don't think they'll become boys, they might become friendly or whatever. But if anything else, I just look at this as a networking opportunity to give George a possibility to do something after fighting.
I like that networking opportunity. I like the way you phrase that. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it there. I like that. We'll see how that all plans out. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I'll still end up watching the damn boxing match. Although if it takes place during a
Oh, of
UFC event, I
course.
probably won't. Probably won't. But we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how the scheduling plays out. All right, I want to hit you with a couple quick hits here. Little couple quick hits and I'll just lay three items out there and see if you want to talk about any of them. First, One Championship. They are doing a live event on TNT in April. So it's a little. Actually, before I even say that, I should say shout out to the folks over at MMA Bobbleheads. When I came back from Fight Island, I haven't put it on social media yet. I'm gonna put it, but our man David sent me one of the Demetrius Johnson bobbleheads, which I think are
Oh, nice.
super cool, man. So I'll be the newest one in the collection. I'll add it to my home setup here really soon. But they're
You
gonna
haven't
go
unboxed
live.
it yet?
I haven't unboxed it yet, but no, I have. I've
Okay.
taken a look at it, but I haven't set it up yet in my office yet. I'll take a look at it. It's sharp, man. I
Show
just
me.
need to
Where's
put
it
a
at?
picture on
Is it
social
within
media
reach?
right now. Yeah, it's got it right here. Look at this beautiful thing.
Yeah, just show me.
Beautiful.
Is that what it looks like?
Yeah, pretty cool looking. The box has the One Championship belt on it, which is super cool. Then you got it all
Oh, so
packed.
this is a one version. This isn't like the bobblehead, dude.
No, it's they did it in partnership. MMA Bobblehead did it in
Really?
partnership with One Championship. Yeah, look, it's got the One logo on it, and it's got the
I was
belt.
gonna
But
say. I
it's
mean,
yeah, but it's
yeah.
yeah, he's moving up in the world, bro. He's doing deals with promotions and stuff now, man. Dave's moving up in
Wow.
the world. But all right, so One
Good for him.
Championship. They're going to be live on TNT. They're doing 4 events on TNT prime time in the United States in April. I do want to point out the first one is live, the other 3 are tape delayed. I don't love that aspect of it, but I understand what they're doing. They just, they're doing everything in batches, basically, where they can, kind of keep those operational costs down, keep everything together, and then, then they can space out the content. It is amazing to me how well they've done in keeping their results quiet because I haven't seen any leaking of results as we did in like the Ultimate Fighter or something back in the day. But at the same time, I mean, maybe that just goes to show you a lot of people aren't digging around and that sort of thing. But Demetrius Johnson, Eddie Alvarez will both be on that first fight. It's going to be live on prime time United States in April. So I think that is kind of a big moment for One Championship. Second topic that I want to mention, and I guess my thoughts on that are that I'm excited for them. It's not, you know, the UFC on network television, but it's a step in the right direction for one championship to get a foothold in the United States. That's for sure. Second
Yeah,
one,
I like the live one. I like the live
yeah,
idea.
I wish they were.
Triple
Dude,
H
I think
sucks.
that's it, man. I think they got. I think they got to go live every week, man. I think they got to go live every week. I know it's the pandemic and that's tough, and they're still doing them in Singapore, so it's going to be the middle of the night over there for them. So I know that's going to be a pain in the ass. But hey, man, we've done it at Fight Island. They can do it too. So we'll see. But it is a big one. All right, second topic. Quick kudos to Raquel Pennington. Clarity and honesty with her drug suspension. I know it may sound weird to give kudos to somebody that is on a drug suspension, but I mean, she basically owned up to everything. And from behind the scenes, Jeff Nowitzki, the folks at USADA, they all say she was 100% transparent, 100% open, honest, willing to help with everything. She put out an extensive statement on her social media saying, look, here's exactly what happened. It's my fault. I apologize. It was an accident. I was prescribed this stuff by a doctor. I didn't realize it was a potential, banned substance, and it won't happen again. She's got a 6-month suspension. She'll be eligible to return in May. Last one, Tito Ortiz might get pulled from his mayor pro tem position. I don't get into politics much, but I've seen some of the clips online, and it doesn't seem to me like he's been doing the greatest in his mayor pro tem role. The thing I did want to point out as well, though, if he gets pulled from this, he's still actually going to be on the city council. The mayor pro tem position just basically means you're the mayor when the mayor isn't there, but it's kind of largely a ceremonial type position. So just if you happen to have seen this headline and think that he might be getting pulled from the city council, I will point out that that's not the case. He's not going to be pulled from the city council entirely. He'll just be pulled from this kind of honorary leadership role, that sort of thing. But he's definitely rubbing some people the wrong way out there in Huntington Beach. Now, I don't necessarily like to get into politics too terribly much, but like I said, he's been frustrating some people behind the scenes. So, one championship, Raquel Pennington, Tito Ortiz, Cold Coffee. Any thoughts on those stories? Even just one of them.
I like the fact that one is going to be on TNT, which is awesome. I hate tape delays, but it is what it is. I like the fact that they're coming here. Raquel, good on her for doing what's needed. Raquel's always been an upstanding person. I would never think that Raquel was ever going out there and actively trying to cheat the system.
I agree.
She just doesn't. It just doesn't sit well to me like that. She would ever try to do something to get some sort of competitive advantage. She works her butt off. I've never seen anything to think that she would look for a shortcut somewhere along the line. So the fact that she's going out and trying to do the right things, and I'm glad that they only gave her 6 months as opposed to something that could have been longer for doing the right thing. So good on her. So yeah, I agree with you for the whole kudos for her for doing the right thing. But in my gut, she would never. I can't say that she would never, but I would feel like that I would be very, very surprised if it ever came out that she legitimately ever tried to cheat. It just doesn't ring true. But as for Tito is a fucking joke. He's supposed to be on the council. I don't even know if he's ever made it to a council because every video I see, he doesn't want to do anything because he doesn't want to wear a mask. He was trying to go into some business and was mad on Instagram or whatever. So you're losing my business because how dare you make me wear a mask going into your business? It's like, dude, you are a grown ass man. Can you not just follow a business's what they're asking you? And if you don't, that's cool. Don't go in. But do you need to go on social media and be an asshole about it? You don't. And if I was anybody that you voted to allow you to do whatever, I would be ashamed of myself. And good on the council for doing whatever. I mean, what a dude. But I mean, it's Tito. How can we be surprised anymore at this sort of stuff? But yeah, I mean, everything I've seen about him, the last things I've seen from, I haven't seen one positive post that I can remember from him, and maybe I need to go back and give his Insta another chance. But everything I see is just him spewing, angry Tito, me, and it's just like, dude, get out of here, go away already. Like you want to get into politics to help make a change, but this is you making a change by going and being mad because you can't go get your fucking favorite burrito or whatever the place was. Like, dude, come on. It's okay. It's just a burrito. You can find another place to eat.
Let me just say that red wine cold coffee is becoming. Look, it's not quite Latchkey Brewing cold coffee. You know what I mean? It's not quite there. But red wine cold coffee is starting to get up there on my list of cold coffees to take part in the MMA Roadshow.
Yeah, I don't know. And I like Tito. I actually like Tito. But it's like if I ever did, which I mean, people call me out all the time when I do stupid shit, and kudos that you should. Like, people should be calling him out for his actions. How can he be proud? I mean, do you think that's what your kids want to see when they're looking on the social media and see dad acting a fool? Like,
No.
act like you think your kids want you to act. Like you are leaving that's your legacy. That's what your kids are going to look up to. You want your kids acting a fool? Like, come on. Like, I'm not even a parent, but I know enough to know that I wouldn't act like that if I had little mini me's watching my actions and then think that this is how you're supposed to act as a human being.
Yeah.
Like, come on, brah. That's weird, man.
That is 100% your job as a parent to set a proper example for your child. So you're right about that. Listen, all right. I want to give one last little thing. It's a non-event week, so we'll keep it relatively short this week. But did want to give a quick shout out. We just found out a good friend of ours right before we started has tested positive.
Are we allowed to say this?
COVID. I don't. I'm just gonna say it's a good friend of ours has tested positive for COVID-19. That's
good play.
I don't know what we're clear. So that good friend is a frequent listener. So just
I love you, brah.
Yeah, shout out. Hope that he's feeling better because seems to be doing okay so far, but is definitely battling the symptoms and found went and got a test and found out he's positive. So hopefully it doesn't get to the bad side of things with this thing. I know it hits everybody differently,
dirty
right?
Booty. Yeah, you gotta watch that dirty booty, man.
It happens. I can see sending the love out, man. The sensitivity is there. I love it. I appreciate it. But sending out some good vibes that way. And actually,
sending good healing vibes. Sending the vibes.
Knowing this good friend of ours, he'd probably appreciate some dirty booty. That's probably what he'd more like instead.
Stay away from the booty until your symptoms go away, brah. Stay away from the dirty booty until your symptoms go away.
Oh man, awesome!
I'm telling you, man. Like. It is one thing. I've kind of missed the test, the regular COVID test, because it's nice to know that you're negative. But man, I'm literally going stir crazy lately with no fights. When the fights are on Fight Island, I'm losing my mind sitting at my house. I almost like want to test the waters just so I can get out of this house. I'm literally losing my mind.
Yeah, man.
I'm literally losing my mind.
At least work
I say that in
busy.
joking because you don't want to get. Yeah, I say that in joking because you don't want to catch it just by going out, but whatever. But man, it's tough, man. I know of other people in other countries that have been locked down for months, and then it's. I was talking to a friend in I think Ireland. I think they're still locked down till like end of March or something.
Jesus.
And I'm just like, dude, it's unreal. So yeah, I mean, be safe out there, folks. I mean, I know it's rough, man. We're all going a little stir crazy, man. We're all losing it a little bit, but.
That's the truth.
That's the truth. Be safe. Stay well.
Be safe. Well, we get back to the fight starting next week, so hopefully that'll help you out. Like I said,
I'm excited.
Maybe those live media days, which would be big as well, but at least the live fights for sure. We'll have it all covered. We'll talk about it. We'll do a recap on and a half if you want to join us over there.
Mm-hmm.
So until then, we'll just say thanks for listening.